Hi, my name is Adrian, and today I would like to talk about disability in Nigeria. First, let's start off with a little background about Nigeria. Nigeria has a population of over 146 million people and is located on the west coast of Africa. Pertaining to individuals who have disabilities, there used to be a lot of ignorance, superstition, taboos, and lack of knowledge against individuals who have disabilities. Due to this ignorance, people with disabilities are lacking care and legal rights still to this day. There is a lack of legal mandates for individuals who have disabilities. So for parents who have children with disabilities, they don't have any legal rights and cannot initiate any litigation against a form of discrimination their children may face when it comes to treatment, services, education, anything along the lines of that. To this day, there is still no federal legislation that can guarantee the rights of individuals who have disabilities. So they have no protection, they have nothing, they have no rights. They are prone to discrimination, and this is something that they are facing today. If you look towards the bottom of the slide, you'll see two maps of Nigeria. The one to the right is, it's in Africa, so there's where Nigeria is, and then if you look to the left, that is the map of Nigeria from the World Atlas. On the next slide, I'm going to be showing you a video of disability in Nigeria, the issues that they are facing. This was a video I got from YouTube, and it will give you an in-depth explanation of what individuals who have disability are going through in Nigeria.
Abubakar Sharu Abdul-Jalil is a polio victim who deals in jewelry at the Area 1 shopping center in Garki, Abuja. Doing business here can be challenging because the structures are not friendly to people like him. Whether for economic or social reasons, people living with disabilities have to deal with this challenge they are confronted with at thousands of public structures in Nigeria. The peculiar need of people living with disability is seldom factored into the design of public buildings as well as public facilities. Even public utilities such as toilets in these buildings are seldom tailored to the special challenges of this segment of the population.
Let me give you one example with Federal Ministry of Social Welfare Area 10. That is where our affairs are taking place, or Federal Secretariat. Before we enter the office of the minister or whatever, you must claim at least 3-story building. Definitely, it always making us very straight, not me alone.
The situation is just about the same in major cities across Nigeria. Jibril Ismail Mohammed, an architect, says the Nigerian Building Code, however, has specific provisions meant to address this.
Most of these services, lifts, other things that you need to put to make a design universal, they are things that you do at the end product. And towards that stage, there's nobody checking it.
Getting around in public transportation can also be an ordeal for people living with disability. Their capacity to commute or travel independently is severely compromised by the fact that no mass transport bus is equipped with infrastructure to ease their access. And with the exception of a few overhead bridges just erected in Abuja, many other overhead bridges cannot also be accessed by them. As for zebra crossings, there are a few and far in between. Where they exist, Nigerians seldom respect them.
Overseas, when you want to cross the road, you see the pedestrian, you can see the sign, the blind cannot see the sign. But there are some things they put in there, like alarm. When you get there, you look for the alarm with your guide cane as a blind person, press the alarm so that the car coming will just stop.
All this make living for many people living with disability in Nigeria a depressing story. Over the years, there have been various attempts to get a disability bill passed into law as one way of addressing the plight of the disabled in Nigeria, but it has not seen the daylight. National President, Joint National Association of Persons Living with Disabilities, Ekaite Umo, however, believes that only legislation can bring about the change they desire.
And it's that kind of laws that will end up addressing the barriers like environmental barriers, architectural barriers.
The common expression is that he who wears the shoes knows where it pinches most. For example, you may consider climbing the stairs a piece of cake, but then bring someone who is physically challenged here, and it becomes a mountain to climb. This, in a very small way, illustrates the dilemma that confronts people living with disability in Nigeria. Trying to live a normal life can be a mountain to climb. In Abuja, Omotola Mojola, NTA News.
In the past years, individuals who had disabilities were said to have been cursed by their enemies. The past negative attitudes and perceptions of individuals who had disabilities came from superstitions. The lack of knowledge has contributed to these negative attitudes towards individuals who have disabilities. Now, today, there is a growing awareness of individuals who have disabilities, and Nigeria is starting to recognize that these individuals can become productive members of society. Nigerians are recognizing that children should have the same educational opportunities as anyone else. The Nigerian federal government is recognizing that these kids have a right to education, that other people who have disabilities have the right to own houses and live independently and participate in recreational activities. Now let's talk about the education of children with disabilities. In 1977, the Nigerian federal government made the decision to give quality education to all Nigerian children, including children with disabilities. Now there are a few issues with that. There were no special education programs, so the educational needs of children with disabilities were not being met. There were not enough qualified educators to teach these individuals with disabilities. So that means the ones who were left to teach them were the ones that were not qualified. They had no qualifications, thus the educational needs of these children were not being met. And this is a huge issue because education is so important. It paves the way for you in getting employment, knowing the basic knowledge that you would need to succeed in life. There are high levels of stigmatism of individuals who have mental illnesses in Nigeria. They are said to have been cursed by the enemy, and this is due from a lack of knowledge. Now, for treatment options, they're very limited because cost is an issue, medicines, lack of accessibility to these treatment centers. So a lot of the times, a lot of traditional healers, or they will take care of the issue, or there will be prayer houses, and they do very medieval treatments like cutting, starving, acid burning, chaining remedies, home remedies, anything like that to treat these people. There are very few psychiatric options available. You have to keep in mind cost is going to be an issue in Nigeria, transportation of medicines, the scarcity of accessible clinics. There's going to be a lack of professionals in the field, but there will be a few psychiatric nurses, but like I said, they're traveling not just in Nigeria, but in other surrounding areas, so to get a hold of a nurse would be very difficult. Housing is going to be an issue for individuals who have disabilities. The first formulated national policy on housing was created in 1991 with the goal to provide housing accommodations for all Nigerians by the year of 2000. Unfortunately, that goal was unsuccessful, but the 2002 national housing policy was created, and the new goal was to ensure that all Nigerians could own or have access to decent, safe, and affordable housing accommodations. Due to the lack of legislation, individuals who have disabilities are prone to discrimination, and they may face discrimination in the workplace. Because there's no laws to protect them, there's nothing that can be done. They can be terminated, they could not get the job because of their disability, and if the proper legislation was in place, they would have that kind of protection. They could file lawsuits or do whatever they wanted to if they felt like they were being discriminated against. Nigeria does not have a formal definition for assisted technology services or devices. The Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, though, is committed to helping individuals who have disabilities live independently, participate, and contribute to society. A lot of assisted technology is used in classrooms or maybe housing if they want to live independently, and this makes it difficult for people in Nigeria to do so. The framework of the World Conference on Special Needs Education has recognized that schools should assist individuals with their education using appropriate training and technology devices such as different assisted technology devices. On this slide, these are some examples of assisted technology that you may see in Nigeria. For the Perkins Braille machines, you may see mobility canes, Braille, talking watches, hearing aids, or wheelchairs. Now, Braille is used for individuals who are blind or have visual impairments. That's the paper with the raised dots with the patterns on it. Talking watches are for individuals with visual impairments. Hearing aids are for individuals who have hearing impairments, and wheelchairs are for individuals who may have physical or mobility issues, and then mobility canes are for people who have mobility issues. Recreational activities are important aspects of life in developing countries such as Nigeria, but with a lack of proper accessibility in Nigeria, remember the video where, a lot of those people, they weren't able to get around, it's hard for them to participate in recreational and leisure activities. And also with the lack of legislation, any activities that are given, they can be discriminated against. There is a growing awareness in Nigeria that people who have disabilities have a right to enjoy life, and now other Nigerians are starting to realize this. So individuals who have disabilities can contribute to society and be a part of the community. Some of the strengths are that empowering people who have disabilities. They can work in occupational fields, take on leadership roles, participate in extracurricular activities, and live independently. And empowering them helps them to enjoy the right to these equal opportunities, participating in these services, and can affect the choices they make and how they contribute to society. So this can also help improve their desire to want to be who they are and succeed in life. Don't forget there are a lot of challenges that people who have disabilities are facing in Nigeria. There is no protection if they are facing discrimination. Their human rights, it's like they don't have any. They don't have any freedom from discrimination, so they can face it anywhere. They don't have sometimes the same opportunities as someone else, like the same education. Keep in mind the education that they do receive. These are from people who may not be qualified to educate. There are scarcity of programs and services given due to funding. Proper education, like I said, is not being given. Accessibility is an issue in the cities, and this makes transportation difficult for them. To conclude this PowerPoint presentation, legislation laws should be in place to protect these people and their rights. They can be contributing members to society. They have a right to get an education. Education is such a huge part of life. It can help you with employment, moving up in employment, like maybe management positions, anything like that. So many people are being discriminated in the workplace. They don't receive quality education. Children are not receiving quality education. That is an issue. But however, the Nigerian federal government is starting to recognize that a change needs to be made. This slide is just the references, all the information that I have gotten on the slides. A lot of these have such great information if you want to do further research, if you want to learn about life in Nigeria for people who have disabilities. These are great places to start. You can always look on the web. There's good videos. You would really learn a lot by doing more research. I just want to say thank you for taking the opportunity to listen to my presentation, and I hope that you learned something today.